In the second video lesson dedicated to Daniel Defoe, we will focus mainly on the analysis of Moll Flanders. But before beginning with that, I would like to complete what we were saying what I was saying in the previous video regarding Robinson Crusoe, and specifically just to summarize the main aspects of the racism that is contained in the novel, which is of course an element that we have full consciousness today, considering that the historical context has totally changed, and with it our cultural outlook. In any case, what does emerge from the analysis of Robinson Crusoe is the fact that Daniel Defoe, as a man of his time, as a novelist of his time, uh, describes his protagonist and the narrative context of his protagonist as Robinson Crusoe being not only the main character, but as being identified as the superior being within the narration. We can see that, as we have said, through the decision of Robinson Crusoe to give a name of his own choice to Man Friday, therefore totally rejecting and refusing to acknowledge any type of identity that he personally might have. Not only does he do that, but he imposes on Man Friday enough basic knowledge of the English language so as to communicate with him. But the communication level is that of Robinson Crusoe being the master, and Man Friday being his servant. Therefore, Man Friday is in the condition to understand only simple commands that Robinson Crusoe will give out to him in order for him to follow suit. The last important aspect is the fact that Robinson Crusoe chooses or orders Man Friday to follow his religion, thus underlining that his religion and his own God is superior to that that he considered lesser of the local faith, and therefore Man Friday's own religion. Therefore, summarizing, Robinson Crusoe is the colonist. He is the superior to Man Friday, who is instead the colonized, and he overcomes him, but linguistically, because Robinson never even attempts to learn the local language. Technically, because he refuses to teach Man Friday to use his weapons. As a matter of fact, he forbids Man Friday any use of his own weapons, and he jealously keeps it to himself without transferring to him any skill whatsoever. And he overpowers him culturally as well, because he quenches virtually all of Man Friday's traditions and roots. How does instead Daniel Defoe approach his second most renowned novel, Moll Flanders? As we said before, in this narrative, there is in fact a development in Daniel Defoe's outlook on the political and social aspects of his time. If Robinson Crusoe is the absolute celebration of the Augustan Age, in the second novel, Daniel Defoe acknowledges that there are, in fact, down drops in the Augustan Age and in the industrial society that is developing in England at this time. Um, First of all, the choice of the protagonist. Not only is it unusual for the time that a writer might choose as the main character of his narrative a woman, but this woman in particular doesn't even belong to the upper class. She is instead the daughter of the poor, of the forgotten lot in English society. So Moll is in fact the daughter of a thief, and she is born in Newgate prison where her mother is serving sentence. Eventually, her mother is sent to Virginia to complete the sentence, and it was quite habitual for the criminals of the time to periodically be sent to the colonies in order to alleviate the overcrowded British jails conditions. Um, as Moll grows, she is sent to serve in the household of the mayor of Colchester at the age of 14, and after that, at the service of a rich family. Here she begins to experience her first sexual abuses. And her entire life is a life of the outcast, someone that has to fight to survive, someone that has to find within her the strength to overcome very serious obstacles, even regarding her own safety. She will eventually marry. She will have a number of children who, like she herself, some are born in prison while she is serving her own sentence and has her mother before her. She is also sent to Virginia to complete her sentence, and this is where her new life begins. In the new world, she finds the opportunities to release herself from distress and through her hard work achieve success by herself becoming a plantation owner. At the end, she goes back to England and finally attains full respectability. During her comeback to the mother country, she decides, as Defoe had done previously with Robinson Crusoe, he decides that it is the time for Moll Flanders to write her own memoir, her autobiography, and publish her manuscript. Moll Flanders is the story of a successful woman, someone that is born in the most desperate conditions, but through her willpower, through her faith in God, and thanks to her skills and her ability as a middle class woman to face, tackle, and overcome all the obstacles that are set before her, she achieves respectability. It doesn't matter whether she achieves this respectability through perhaps not commendful actions. The point is, as it has been conveyed during the Puritan age, that poverty is something to run away from. And the worst sin is actually poverty itself, not how the person is able to come out of that condition and find success in life. Even as in the case of Robinson Crusoe, Moll Flanders too is written in retrospect by Moll herself, and the entire novel is structured as a sort of warning to others in order to inform the public to avoid the mistakes that she has made in life, carrying out therefore a didactic aim. But all the novels of this time have this final purpose. In other words, to relate personal achievements, to tell their life story, so that their life stories can be examples or models to be followed by the reading public. So they are teaching a lesson, in other words. In both cases, we are in the presence of flat characters, meaning that there is no psychological insight in the description of these characters, and they are both novels are narrated in the first person singular. Therefore, it is the protagonist in himself or herself that relate their experiences, and there is no actual development in their personal characterization, especially because it is a narration in retrospect. What the reader meets is the character as he or she has become during their both later years. So we can say that Moll Flanders can be seen in many ways as the female counterpart of Robinson Crusoe, and as the male protagonist of his first novel. In this one, Moll too undergoes many hardships, experiences, failures, but thanks to her faith in her own willpower and strength, she not only survives, but in the end, she even obtains that respectability that at the beginning of the novel was totally out of the question. The most important values, thus, that are championed in the British bourgeoisie development is that of the ability of the individual to shape his life and mold his destiny. There are also important issues to underline in Moll Flanders as well. The fact, for instance, as we have said, that she considered poverty a sin in itself, and it is better to steal, in her way of thinking, than to be or to become a prostitute rather than remaining poor. She even justifies the fact that she has to give up her children in order to save herself, and to obtain everything that she is working for. She denies herself any feeling and suffering or emotional experience, because, as it is also in the best Puritan tradition, she believes that it would prevent her to concentrate fully on how to make money and consequently gain social status, that respectability that was so important for um, the Puritans of the previous historical time. We have already said about the realism that Daniel Defoe employs in his novels in order to give the idea to his reader that his characters are actually real characters, and thus characters with whom the reading public can identify with, because they represent and symbolize everything that the new middle class individual represented for the English society of this time, the Augustan Age, or the Age of Reason.